For years, building management systems have lived in the basement, quite literally. But as everything from HVAC to lighting shifts to IP, the industry is being forced to rethink whether BMS should stay on-prem. CIOs are asking for harmonization, portfolio owners are demanding standardization, and cybersecurity teams are really tired of patching servers one building at a time. Enter Cloud BMS. From hybrid approaches to fully cloud-native systems, the idea actually promises speed, scale, and central control. It also, however, raises real questions about risk, readiness, and what is actually happening on the ground. My guest today is Dhaval Shah, VP and Head of Product, Software and Services Portfolio for Digital Buildings at Schneider Electric. And he has been working at the intersection of these challenges and opportunities. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Climate Gap Quick Cuts, a podcast for busy people building climate solutions. We spotlight founders, builders, operators, and investors doing the hard work behind real progress. I'm Ben, co-founder of Element 6. We connect climate tech companies with the people who make scale possible. Let's get into it. Cloud BMS, the next frontier, or just another buzzword? Dhaval, welcome to the show. Could you share an intro to yourself and your background?
Hey, Ben. Happy to be here and glad talking about a very innovative topic, Cloud BMS. So, bit of a background. I'm Dhaval Shah. I'm the Global VP of Software Products and Service Offers at the Building Automation Group of Schneider Electric. Based in Boston and have spent my half life on engineering side, half on the business side. Pretty non-linear journey, traversing a couple industries from industrial automation, commercial automotive, solar energy storage, and landed into buildings just a few years ago. Common thread, had a chance to build solutions that set the direction for the future. And now, excited to shape the future of building systems with software and services driving impacts together.
Great. Okay, I'm excited to dig in a little bit into your insights about Cloud BMS, and let's set the scene and start simple, I guess. When people hear Cloud BMS, it can mean very different things to them. How would you break it down, and why is it such a hot topic right now for you?
Great question. Let's set the context. The two dimensions to look at Cloud BMS is from a technology angle, and the other one is from a value it creates for different stakeholders. When we think of BMS, BMS is a controls, monitoring, integration of multiple systems in a building. And traditionally, they have been all locked up in a basement on a software that's running in a server. When we try to abstract that and push that software controls, monitoring into the cloud, it starts to be more of a cloud-based BMS. Now, there is no one variant of Cloud BMS, just as we know for electric vehicles, Wisconsin hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and pure electric. Cloud BMS also has variances within them, and that's the technology side of things. But when you look at it from a value angle, for owners and facility managers, it brings like a portfolio-wide visibility, remote control, continuous optimization, etc. And for system integrators, it unlocks fast and standard deployments, more responsive services. And then you have other stakeholders like IT and CIO, right, where it from shifts through patching, auditing, resilience to the vendors and manage them under an SLA. More and more we are seeing a centrally driven, CIO-driven strategy there. And the last question that you asked about why now? And I think this is very interesting because there are three interesting forces that are at play. The first one is the market dynamics. We are seeing a lot of regulatory compliance, performance expectations, more integrated systems, more skills shortage as well. That's influencing this. The second vector is the organizational drivers. More emphasis towards standardized, centralized, harmonized systems across the portfolio. Big pressure to lower the operating costs, and also dealing with more security and data centralization, right? Third one is a technology vector. We have seen a really interesting evolution over the last 5 to 10 years where the clock speed has just fundamentally changed. You have more frequent updates made to the BMS. It's now more IP that you see across the building management system and more simple integrations that can be achieved when things are at the cloud level. So in a combination of these three, we can say that Cloud BMS is at a very interesting juncture in time where it's moving from an early adopter to more like a mainstream in the next 2 to 3 years.
So, as you talk through your insights, this is a shift that is happening now. CIOs are pushing for this. What's really driving the urgency, and why do you think it's particularly now compared to 5-10 years ago? I know you touched on that previously, but is there any other markers that you feel are relevant?
Very interesting. I think you mentioned CIOs, and that's a very strong stakeholder and persona that's a big catalyst to this. So here's what's happening. 10 years ago, building systems lived in their own world. Separate networks, proprietary protocols, air gap from IT infrastructure. The facility manager owned it, and IT didn't want to touch it. But today, more and more things are getting IP connected. Your HVAC controller, your lighting controls, your access control, they're all the network generating data, and increasingly we are taking to the cloud services. CIOs are looking at this and saying, wait a minute, I'm responsible for cybersecurity, network performance, data governance, and disaster recovery for the entire organization. If building systems are on my network and pushing data to the cloud, that's also something, it's their problem too. And they're right, but there's another driver, which I would say is IT sees this more as an opportunity, not just risk. They are pushing cloud strategies across the enterprise because cloud delivers scalability, it reduces the infrastructure overhead, it enables analytics at scale. When they see building systems still running on 15-year-old servers in dust and mechanical room, they see inefficiency and risk. They want to standardize the infrastructure, improve the security protocols, and the ability to integrate building data with the rest of the business systems. So why now? Because the collision of OT and IT is kind of at the stage of highest level of maturity. The average organizations are now spending upwards of hundreds of thousands of dollars in just IT infrastructure for a building. And about CIOs are just not only influencing this anymore, they're driving the agenda about it. And it's healthy. We need that rigor. We need that security mindset and that enterprise architecture thinking that CIOs bring.
Let's dive into kind of the different variants in practice. You outlined 3 approaches: hosted, hybrid, and cloud native. Could you walk us through where these actually make sense and what kind of customer building profile would fit each of those areas?
This is, Ben, where the rubber meets the road, right? There's no one-size-fits-all answer to this. The decision criteria really comes down to 4 things. I'll say risk tolerance, internal expertise, portfolio scale, and the budget model preferences. So let me break it down, the decision framework that we have seen with some customers. So before we go to cloud, there's a big distinction. Do we need to go on a cloud or not? So on-premise BMS system still makes sense in quite a few scenarios. So think mission-critical facilities, hospitals, data centers, industrial plants, where control resilience is non-negotiable. If the internet goes down, those HVAC systems, clean rooms, process cooling must keep running without interruption.
Yeah.
If customers have got deep internal expertise, stable requirements, and systems that need to operate offline, on-premise is still a valid choice. Right? Now, cloud native, this is ideal for portfolios that need scale, modern distributed operations, and are doing quite healthy expansions. I'm thinking about retail chains, which have like 100 plus locations, campus systems, commercial real estate portfolios, etc. For these customers, cloud delivers remote access, unlimited scalability, easy integrations, business systems that can be brought in with OD systems altogether. And you're not maintaining those servers. They need central visibility, and they operate lean. They are comfortable with SaaS models, etc. Now, there is a middle ground there, which I call as the cloud hybrid. And this is the pragmatic choice, And increasingly, it's the answer for large, complex building with existing infrastructure. You keep critical control functions local. So if connectivity drops, your building doesn't go dark, but you push all your historical data, analytics, reporting to the cloud. it's a transitional path for many, but for some, it's a permanent solution. So you might see a customer with a new Class A building or an established university campus choosing to elect with one new greenfield project where they go and establish this Cloud BMS instance, and then gradually bring the rest of the portfolio over a period of time into the same headed. And this is where we will see more of a transition path of customers going from brownfield into a Cloud BMS kind of a solution gradually because it makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Well, I like that. I like that walkthrough. You touched a little bit on risks, but I'd like to move into that a little bit more and some of the realities. Of course, with any change comes at a risk. What are the biggest hurdles, whether it's cybersecurity operations or just a culture shift when moving BMS into the clouds?
Any solution that is new and groundbreaking, it takes time to adopt. And there are different kind of hurdles and risks which are genuine and risks which are perceived. To break it down simply, we have heard from a couple of engagements with customers that the few concerns they have is cybersecurity and data residency. With cybersecurity being an ever-evolving field, it's crucial to have a competent team dedicated to ensuring the solution that is chosen meets the corporate needs, but also has a proper structure and governance from the solution provider. This is really important for providing an optimal service for a cloud-hosted system, for supportability, and also the success of addressing concerns and meeting the metrics of response times that are much going to be easier to do so with cloud-hosted systems.
Yeah.
Operationally, there is a concern of availability, particularly around what happens when internet is not available. It is important to structure a cloud-hosted solution to account for these scenarios by providing the ability for on-premise controllers to continue to function without data being lost. This redundancy is key to provide a resilient operational system. And the last one I would say is the culture piece. That is real. Cloud BMS requires a very different skill set, less hands-on hardware troubleshooting, more software configurations, more working with automation and integration switch off with other OD systems. That's a bit of a workforce transition as well, and it takes time, training, and sometimes new hires. But the flip side, cloud platforms over a period of time have proven to reduce the need for specialist expertise because they automate so much, scale easily, and it's a bridge you have to cross, but there's a solid ground on the other side.
Great. Well, you make a compelling position. Let's look at the value beyond IT. For operations and FM, this can sound like a CIO-driven agenda, but what's the real on-the-ground value for them? How does it make their day easier or their portfolio smarter?
Phenomenal question. If it wasn't for the operations and facilities teams, adopting this, a solution like this will never scale because they are the one who try to manage and are responsible for the entire upkeep of the system. So when we look at a range of customers that have already adopted this cloud-based BMS, few things come as very interesting values. First is they manage centrally, so you have improved oversight and control over individual buildings and multi-site building portfolio. So imagine this, when you have a building portfolio of 400 BMS systems and you want to drive an energy conservation measure, you're not creating individual work orders. You can centrally orchestrate those energy conservation measures. Big value. Second is response time. So now your BMS is accessible from anywhere. You can log in from on the go and try to resolve it. This also helps with a centralized team that can potentially be more proactive in terms of responding to critical things or support. And that reduces also the dependency on on-site technical teams. So you don't necessarily need someone locally who is an expert in all things BMS, right? That makes it much easier and simpler to operate. the whole cybersecurity posture becomes much stronger because now you have one single, endpoint that you are connecting your BMS to. So all the applications that you have to integrate with connect to the cloud. So you're not depending so much on building by building IT teams and request the IT groups to go and have the ports opened up. Also, it reduces the costs. Like this is really critical because most of this IT infrastructure, they have a very high upfront cost, and also it costs to maintain them and expand them. Whereas the cloud-hosted solutions are much more economic in the long run.
Yeah.
Also, you have a more resilient system, right? So if something goes down on your server in the basement, you are looking at a tech coming in, replacing the server, reinstating the image. But a cloud-based system might be just having a recovery time which is less than 4 hours. So you're up and running much faster. So a combination of this value about how do you make the operations more efficient, bring more savings, be more responsive, resilient, secure. This all contributes to what facility managers have voiced as the reasons why they've loved the transition out of being into a locked BMS system on a premise in every building to something which is members to cloud.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's look ahead. Fast forward a few years. What will tell you Cloud BMS has gone from a niche experiment to new normal? Like, what signs should the industry be watching for?
Cloud BMS is happening, Ben, today already. And I think it's limited to a few sectors. So retail chains, those are today adopting these cloud native BMSs at scale.
Yeah.
We are seeing now a lot more commercial buildings and university buildings are becoming much more interested in lifting and shifting their BMS to the cloud to harmonize across their portfolio. There are three things which I would be looking as indicators. And maybe we will see that in 3 years from now, how we are good at predicting the industry's adoption curve. Number one is we will see a very dramatic rise in new constructions, specifically for those non-critical buildings to start emphasizing the adoption of the BMS to be virtualized in the cloud. They might start something more hybrid. And the indicator of that would be how many greenfield projects that we do every year are asking for the BMS to be on day one to be cloud native or cloud hybrid. The second big transition point you will see is the market becoming more educated and aware. So with any new transformation of this nature, three things need to become quite good. We need to have the economics, proof for itself, education and awareness, and the third is the ecosystem of providers and solution integrators all coming together. So if in the next 3 years you are able to see more case studies, if you are able to see a lot more of thought leadership coming out, explaining people around the merits and benefits which are tangible and non-tangible, and if you are able to see a very clear ecosystem where the solution providers and the system integrators both come together and start to promote it actively, you will see some good indicators of growth. And the third one, which I believe is quite natural for us to evolve into, is the unique value that comes from integrated systems. As we are seeing now with the traditional BMS, there is a CMMS system, there's a fall detection diagnostic, there is an IWMS system for space management. A lot of integrations are needed. Trying to layer such portfolio-wide application on disparate buildings and going one building at a time is extremely time-consuming, slowing down the speed of rollout, very tough to coordinate, and also I would say that's not an elegant way. So when we start to see enterprises realize that, they will start to move their entire building portfolio of BMSs to the cloud, and that will unlock a very rapid adoption of this application. So the two-sided market will start to flourish by itself.
Yeah. Well, great. We've heard it here first then. I really look forward to watching out your predictions come true. Thank you very much for your time and walking us through your insights and vision for how Cloud BMS can become more of a reality to the wider market. So, yeah, really enjoyed that. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Ben. And this is a pivotal moment for our industry. And I'm quite optimistic of where we are headed. The technology is ready. The economics look compelling, and the customer value is real. So now it's all about execution, education, and bringing the entire ecosystem along the journey. So thanks for having me and sharing the knowledge and insights to the broader market.
Here are the key points from today's conversation with Dhaval. First, Cloud BMS is not a single product. It's a spectrum from hosted to hybrid to fully cloud native, and the right answer depends on risk tolerance, internal expertise, and portfolio scale. Second, CIOs are no longer background stakeholders. They are driving the push because building systems are now IP connected, data rich, and part of the enterprise network. With that comes higher expectations for security, resilience, and integration. Third, hybrid will be the bridge. Critical control stays local while analytics, history, and standardization move to the cloud. For many portfolios, that will be long-term architecture. Fourth, operation teams stand to gain the most. Faster response times, easier remote support, portfolio-wide orchestration, reduced server maintenance, and simpler cybersecurity all add up to meaningful day-to-day improvements. And finally, adoption is accelerating. Retail and multi-site operators are already scaling cloud-native BMS. Universities and commercial portfolios are following. The signs to watch include more greenfield projects asking for cloud-ready BMS, more case studies proving the economics, and a maturing ecosystem of providers and integrators capable of delivering it. Cloud BMS is no longer a buzzword, it's becoming a strategic shift. The next years will determine how fast it becomes the new normal. Thanks for watching Quick Cuts, short episodes, sharp insights, no filler. Catch you next time. You've been listening to the Climate Gap Quick Cuts. If you're building in climate tech, subscribe to hear more from the people making it happen.